that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Energy Week with me, George Harvey, and over here is the amazing Tom Fennell, and between us is a barrier that keeps us from getting each other sick, and it's that line up the screen. I just thought you might want to know what the line up the screen is.
I think most people aren't even going
Probably,
to notice it.
yeah, probably. Okay, every day I go to the internet. I find what I can in terms of news about climate change and energy. Mostly I'm looking for energy and anything relating to climate change, kind of secondarily. And I put posts up at geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. Cora was saying it was nice that I didn't have a line through my face.
There's the line.
There's the line. Okay, that's the barrier. Okay, and I put them up at geoharvey.com every day. And Tom and I are going to start this show on the 27th of August. I should get rid of the glasses so I can see. The glasses prevent me from seeing. That's what they're for. Actually, they're for seeing things that are more distant. We're starting on the 27th of August. Today is the 3rd of September, so we're going to end this show's news on the 2nd of September. And what do you have to say, Tom?
Well, not much.
Not much.
My
He usually
computer's
says
down,
there's some really good shows, really good articles here.
Well, usually I will have read these articles because my computer's down.
You have any word on your computers?
I should have one today or tomorrow. I've ordered a replacement. And
Oh, did you?
Okay. It has been shipped already.
Okay.
So I may, once I get it, it's going to take me about 3 days to transfer everything.
Yeah.
I got carbonite, and they're slow.
Yeah.
But they get them all.
Before we do anything else, I want to show people something.
Let's
This
see if I can pull you up.
Yeah,
There
you
it
should
is.
do that. This thing. There it is. Let me get the computer out of the way. This thing is a solar panel, and you'll notice that there's this gizmo sticking out of the top. It's a cigarette lighter type receptacle, so that you can get
Car cigarette lighter.
Yeah, 12 volt power out of this. And it comes with this little guy, which is a USB port, which if you plug it in like that, instead of getting 12
Well, that's convenient.
you get 5. And this little panel, I actually just plugged one of those Raspberry Pi computers into it.
Yeah.
With this in the sun, and I was just able to run it.
Huh?
It just ran. I didn't even need a battery.
Okay.
The quality of the sunlight was good enough. I got this because when we did those reports a couple of years ago about Puerto Rico and Hurricane Maria, I noticed that the people were lining up to get their cell phones charged. That was one of the most important things they could do.
Well, for them, they don't have telephones. It's the
They
only
have
way of
cell phones.
communicating.
Yeah,
They have
they're
and they use the cell phones for everything.
yeah, and
Banking
their electric
and buying and.
their electric system is so unreliable that there are a lot of things they wouldn't be running anyway. But this thing is powerful enough that I could run the computer and charge a battery.
Okay.
At the same time. And the battery, a little bitty battery, the Raspberry Pi computer and the monitor, 2 of them together, the monitor is about that big, draw less than 5 watts.
Can't beat that.
And
my God, you could generate your own power with a hand wheel.
yeah, you could. Absolutely you could. But here, if we had an extended power outage here in Brattleboro, there have been 4 times in my life that I had no power for over a week.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Hurricane Bob. I've never experienced that.
Hurricane Bob, I was living on the coast of Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
The perfect storm, which came right after that. And then in the 1990s, there was a blizzard that put us out. I was living in New Hampshire. We were out for over a week, and then there was that big ice storm. And so I got this thing and I wrote an article about it for Green Energy Times. And I think this is an $85 thing from a company called Tiny Solar Vermont. And you can go to its website, which is just Tiny Solar Vermont. But I was impressed enough by this guy that I bought a larger one. This is 20 watts, and the larger one is 60.
Which you didn't bring with you.
No. The larger one, the system includes two 12-volt, 24-amp batteries.
Okay.
So, you know, you have to reduce that amount by about half because they aren't deep discharge.
Yeah.
They were sealed batteries, lead acid batteries, what they call gel batteries. And then it had a little bitty inverter this big and a little bitty this big charge controller. And, you know, I did that because I do my blog. It uses a modem. I need something that's going to run a modem at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
You know? So I want the batteries. And those batteries keep that modem and whatever else I need to have going. And this computer, the one in front of you, both of those, well, this can be charged by this little thing that I just showed you. That thing can be charged by the bigger one. So I could keep my blog going in a total, in an emergency where we have no power, if there's a cell phone tower that's operating nearby.
Which you can't guarantee.
No, you can't guarantee
well,
anything.
they got their own independent power supply, so if the power goes out, they still have power.
If I've got a telephone, a landline, I can do it. So there you go. Anyway, we should get going into the show. We're already
we should. Yeah,
7 minutes in. We're starting on Thursday, August 27th.
Let's get that picture up.
And you can go to the blog and yes, let's get the picture up. There it is. You can go to the blog and go to the date and click on the items that we're looking at. Our first item comes from Renews. These are wind turbines. I believe those wind turbines.
Is that what those things are?
Yeah, I think they are. They're either that or
large pinwheels.
Large pinwheels. I was going to say party noisemakers. These, I believe, actually are in China. And what do you got for a title there, Tom?
China dominates global wind and solar output.
China is the world's largest producer of renewable electricity, according to the International Energy Agency's key World Energy Statistics report. There's a mouthful of words. With an installed capacity of 184 gigawatts.
Well, gigawatts is gigawatts.
That's right. China has 28.7% of global wind production, and it's...
So that's more than a quarter of all over the world.
That's right. And it's 175 gigawatts of solar capacity produce 31.9% of solar power production.
Now, that's very interesting. I mean, they're a big country, but they're using more than their share, I would say.
Well, certainly they're the biggest.
Absolutely.
They're not the biggest in terms of power generated per capita.
Okay.
There's a lot of people in China.
They got a lot of people.
Yeah. But I've been hitting the idea that Australia's got the most power per capita.
They don't have many people.
They don't have very many people. Yeah. Okay, should we go on?
Yeah, we got an interesting map coming up here.
We do. There's the map. This map is a map of...
That's real.
...of the predicted storm surge.
So this is not the actual, this is the prediction?
This is the prediction, but
the actual
in fact...
is worse.
No, the actual wasn't worse. It was approximately
about that.
this.
They hit it on the head. Huh?
And we're going to have another article on this come up.
The one that grabs me there is Cameron, because we've talked about Cameron before.
I know.
And they get hit bad.
They do, yeah.
I would say in another 10, 20 years, there isn't going to be any Cameron.
Well, that's what they've been told by their conservative Republican government. Their county is disappearing and they'd better move.
Yeah.
So...
Well, we've talked about this. We talked about one guy who's moved already 3 times.
Yeah. CNN gave us this. What do you got for a title?
What do I have? Unsurvivable storm surge.
Yeah.
Hurricane Laura batters Louisiana coast as a Category 3 storm.
Well, it actually came ashore as I think
A 2, wasn't it?
as a 4.
A 4?
It was very close between 3 and 4.
Yeah, it says that. It made landfall early as a Category 4 storm.
Yep.
Winds of 150 miles an hour.
Is that fast enough for
Gentle
you?
breeze.
Yeah. Laura is moving inland as a Category 3 hurricane. Of course, I'm reading something that was contemporaneous with this, and it's a week old now. After making landfall near Cameron, Louisiana, as a Category 4 storm with winds of 150 miles an hour, water levels along the coast rose rapidly, and forecasters warned of devastating winds and a storm surge that they called, quote, unsurvivable, end quote, of up to 20 feet. And
There's a note here
yeah,
that this story appears again later. We're going to be
talking about it after.
The storm surge turned out to be over 17 feet.
Yeah.
Cameron Parish, where the storm hit, had the highest percentage of pro-Trump votes of any county in the United States, which we've talked about on
Well,
this
Donald
show.
Trump is the chosen one.
Oh, sure.
You know, I mean, what can you say? Of course, the next one is probably going to undermine Mar-a-Lago. Okay. Should we go on, Tom?
Yeah, we got another picture coming up.
Okie doke. This picture is a Metro Rail picture of Imahesh. He's the guy who photographed it.
Subway train.
This is an Indian Railways train. This is from Z News. I haven't figured out Z News yet. I think it's an Indian organization.
I would not at all be surprised. India is getting up there with some of the stuff they're publishing. They're world class now.
Yeah. Although a lot of stuff that comes out of India, they use a lot of very long words.
Well, the Indian English, they don't believe in contractions. No, that's serious.
I
They don't
know
use
that.
contractions.
But they also don't believe in short words. I think that, and I don't think it's a matter of people being paid by the word, that they have a lot of words, because they have a lot of very long words, and I think they just love words. Anyway, what do you got for a title?
Indian Railways carbon emission will be 0 by 2030, says Union Minister Piyush Goyal.
Union Railway Minister Piyush Goyal said that the Indian Railways has set a target of reducing carbon emissions to 0 by the end of 2030. The plan is
noble target.
Yeah, but think about
doable.
this in terms of steam locomotives, and you say, whoa, how can that be?
I have ridden on a steam locomotive in India
How have you?
in relatively recent times, in 1980s, 1980s.
My younger brother.
Beautiful train, by the way.
Yeah, my younger brother, when he was about 2 years old,
Yeah.
loved very few things more than going to Sidmouth Junction in Devon and watching a steam locomotive go by, and a diesel-powered engine,
Yeah.
for him was scary
No kidding.
because it was inexplicable. He was
He could figure out steam.
The steam is obvious. You got these big wheels going around. You got things going back and forth, and
A lot of
somebody's doing a
smoke.
lot of work. With the diesel, it was just magic, and that was really disconcerting. But he was about 2 years old. The plan was for Indian Railways to use surplus land along its tracks to install 20 gigawatts of renewable energy, which of course was
Well,
going to be
that's
solar.
intelligent. I mean, the land
Absolutely.
is there.
The land is there. How are you going to use it?
Use it right there.
Use it right there. Absolutely. And you can have, well, you wouldn't have sheep grazing under it probably in much of India. I think it's probably a little too hot for them in a lot of India.
It could very well be, yes.
But
if you put in overhead solar panels, you got shade for those little guys.
that's true. And if you allowed the local people to plant shade-tolerant plants, they would grow
This
food
is all
out of it.
worth exploring and
Yeah.
will be explored because these people aren't foolish.
No, they're not. And they make use of everything they can get a hold of. Okay, should we go on?
Yeah, we got another picture coming up.
We're up to
here.
Friday, August 28th, and we've got a picture of a boat in the Faroe Islands, and
Let's see if I
it's
can get
it's
that
harvesting
picture of the boat up
seaweed. That boat
Is that what they're doing?
That's what they're doing.
Seaweed,
Yeah.
huh?
That is
Yeah,
what they're
Faroe
doing.
Island seaweed culture.
This is from BBC.
Seaweed, the food and fuel of the future.
Question
This is an
mark.
interesting concept.
Yeah, it is. People have been eating seaweed for a long, long time.
Well, in Ireland, it's a staple. It's called dulse.
Yeah, dulse. In Wales, it's a staple as well. They call it laverbread.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but I think they call it dulse also.
Yeah.
I think they. Okay.
Well, I remember there was a family grew up in my house that was, the parents had been born in Ireland.
Yeah.
And they would go back there every once in a while. And one of the things they brought back was a lot of dulse. To them, it was like candy.
Was it dried?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let me read this. This is from the BBC. Seaweeds are fast-growing algae. They use energy from sunlight. They take up nutrition and carbon dioxide from seawater. Scientists suggest seaweed could help fight climate change and offset carbon emissions. Increasing numbers of companies are investigating seaweed culture. And this is
It makes sense.
not
Makes a lot
just
of
in the
sense.
Faroes and Ireland,
No, not at
Wales,
all.
and so forth. This is all over the world. And
Well, they grow fast.
they grow fast.
And if they grow fast, somebody can make a buck. And if somebody can make a buck, Lord love them, they will.
Yeah. And, it's not just salt water either. There are plants that do the same thing in fresh water. And if you ever see a lake or a pond with just lime green growth over it, people feel that's kind of disgusting. But in fact, often when you see that, it's what is that? A duckweed.
Yeah.
And duckweed is a favorite food of ducks.
Why did they call it duckweed?
Well, it's also a favorite food of chickens and cows and human beings. You can feed this to anybody. But a square inch of duckweed under ideal circumstances will grow to cover over an acre in just like a month. The stuff grows so
it really
fast.
grows fast.
Yeah.
Just these little tiny leaves.
Tiny. It's the smallest flowering plant.
Okay.
And each plant has 2 leaves.
Okay.
Okay, should we go past this?
Well, if I can figure out where we are on this.
Okay, we were looking at.
We got another picture coming up,
We
I
have
think.
a picture of a solar installer.
Is that what's going on?
It's not really a very interesting picture, but it happened to come with the article, and it has some color, so I'm not going to complain heavily about it. This is from New Hampshire Business Review.
It is that. The renewable energy industry weathers COVID.
Yeah. Since the pandemic began, New Hampshire has lost nearly 1,461 jobs. Why would they give nearly and then be so explicit about the exact number?
I have a problem with that, yeah.
It seems kind of
Especially if they use the word approximately.
approximately.
Approximately 1,461 jobs.
Well, it would be worse to say approximately 1,461.8 jobs. This is according to BW Research Partnership. That is actually an 8.5% decline, but it's the third smallest decline in the nation behind South Dakota and Utah. Nationally, the clean energy job loss was 14.8%. Well, I got news for you. Job losses were in many industries, including energy industries, a whole lot worse than 14.8%.
Total job losses.
Oh yeah.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying from what I've been reading, job losses in renewable energy were nowhere near as bad as job losses in competing industries such as oil and gas.
Well, there's a lot of job losses in hospitality now.
Oh yeah.
Big time.
Big.
And it's the season.
Yeah.
I mean, people come to Vermont in the summertime. Well, they come in the wintertime to ski, but
Yeah.
and New Hampshire too. I mean, these visits aren't happening.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I see in the news today that they want the states to be ready to give people COVID-19 injection,
Immunization.
vaccinations for immunization by the end of October.
Ain't gonna happen.
Well, I don't know what to say about that.
Well,
That was the CDC.
I'm not sure they don't have a proven.
I have
vaccine.
no idea what they've got on their minds.
Well, I think it was Bismarck said it. Don't ever believe anything the government tells you.
Bismarck? Oh my gosh.
Well, I don't think he was the first one to say it, but he did say something very much like that.
Well, my bet is that there were people in ancient Rome and Greece who said that.
I'm sure they were.
Okay.
Another picture coming up.
Yes, our next one is also kind of local. That's a difficult picture to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it says sunset at a Green Lantern solar array in southern Vermont.
Yeah, not far from here. This is from Globe News Wire. What do you got for a title?
Green Lantern Solar, Repowering Vermont.
You know, Ralph Mima is their local.
Yeah, I know Ralph.
Yeah.
We
Green
want to get
Lantern.
him on a show sometime.
We could do that maybe.
Easily.
It would, well, if it fits into his schedule. A lot of people can't come because it doesn't fit into their schedule. I always wanted Peter Thorell to come,
And he couldn't come, huh?
He just couldn't do it. He wanted to come too, but he said Thursday morning is not easy. Let me read this. Green Lantern has completed nearly 90 projects in Vermont, adding nearly 40 megawatts of in-state solar power to the state's grid.
Approximately nearly 40.
Approximately nearly, yes, almost nearly. Green Lantern has built projects in 66, in approximately 66 towns. Throughout Vermont, it has recently completed construction of a 150 kilowatt solar array in Bristol.
That's not very big.
Not huge, but you know, again, I was right. The Green Energy Times is just maybe tomorrow going to press. And so I've been writing some of the stuff. And Green Lantern is I don't remember exactly, it might have been 51st largest solar company in the United States.
I think I've got a note to that effect.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Green Lantern is a Vermont-based company.
Yes.
It is one of the largest 100 solar companies in the U.S.
Yes.
Works entirely in the Northeast.
Yep.
And then there's another one here that says George, I wonder who he is, did some work for Green Energy Times. Green Lantern is the second largest Vermont solar company, number 102 nationally. For solar plus storage installations, it's number 8 in the nation.
Yeah.
Now that's something to be.
That is interesting to me.
Yeah.
That really is interesting.
It's based in Waterbury, and Ralph Mima is a local representative for the company.
You must be psychic. I found that stuff out yesterday. You just had it off the top of your head.
I'm just getting vibes.
There you go. Okay, should we go on?
I think we should.
We don't
yeah.
have a picture for this next one. It comes from
So we'll
the
leave you up there.
Beloit Daily News.
Byron and Dresden, nuclear plants to close in 2021. Well, you will explain what they mean by that.
Yeah. Byron and Dresden are two nuclear
stations.
They're nuclear plants in Illinois. Each of them has 2 reactors. So we're talking about 4 reactors here. Exelon Generation has announced that it intends to retire its Byron generating station and Dresden generating station in Illinois in the fall of 2021. Dresden and Byron face revenue shortfalls in the hundreds of millions of dollars because of declining energy prices.
So it's the economy, stupid.
It's the economy, that's right.
Well, there's a note here, which I think you wrote. The U.S. has 97 licensed nuclear reactors. 3 of these have already closed down permanently. There were 3 reactors already scheduled to close soon. These 2 plants have 4 reactors, bringing the total of closed or scheduled to close to 10. There's got to be more than that, that's for sure.
Well, there's going to be more, but this is just 10 in the next year and a half.
Yeah.
One thing about this is if you look at nuclear plants that are scheduled to close, you'll probably find an additional 8 or so that were scheduled to close, but somebody said, here's some money, please stay open.
Well, we've talked about that.
Absolutely.
I don't know who's doing it.
Well, in New York State,
New York, yeah.
They had a couple of upstate plants that were
And they're
scheduled
getting
to close.
subsidies.
And they got subsidies in exchange for, Indian Point shutting down early.
Yep.
And
we've talked about that.
We have talked about it. Indian Point, they wanted to shut down early because, I mean, if you think about Fukushima.
Pretty archaic.
Yeah.
It was the first nuclear plant in the nation.
No.
No?
Not Indian Point, no. Indian Point.
Well, it was up there.
It's an old plant. Indian Point.
I remember when they opened Indian Point, I was still in grade school.
No, I don't think Indian Point is that old. I think you must be thinking of something else.
Well, my cousin worked for General Electric in
Yeah.
advertising.
Yeah.
And he gave me, when I was in grade school, a medallion that celebrated the opening of Indian Point 1. And it had a little magnet that was created.
Yeah. Indian
The
Point
magnet
1
was
closed
created-
down some years ago.
Yes.
This is Indian Point 2 and
Two-
Indian Point 3.
Yeah.
They're newer reactors.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you think about Fukushima Daiichi, and the American people in Japan were told don't go within 50 miles of that. If you
Yeah.
think about Indian Point, what's within 50 miles of Indian Point?
New York City.
All of New York City, except about 2 or 3 blocks of Staten Island.
Yeah.
It's just everything is there. And then Newark and, Bergen County and New Haven, and you just go down this long list of things that are nearby. And if you had a really bad accident at that plant, you'd have
A lot of people.
you would have
would be gone.
an evacuation process that would just be a complete nightmare.
They weren't thinking about that kind of stuff then. If
Well-
they were keeping it close to their vest.
The reason why Indian Point is 35 miles north of New York City
Yeah.
is because they wanted it far enough that an accident would give time to evacuate.
I don't think they had a time.
I don't think they calculated it right. But if you look at nuclear plants around the United States, you'll see that almost a large number of them are on big bodies of water, like the Hudson River, the Atlantic Ocean, whatever, and they are approximately 35 miles from a big city. And that was done because they wanted it not too close to the city, but they wanted it close enough that they wouldn't have a lot of line loss.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, these things were installed when line loss was a problem, which it isn't anymore. They could,
Yeah, but that's really recent. Line loss
yes, I know.
hasn't-
I know. It's been declining. It was declining kind of slowly during the 20th century, and then all of a sudden the 21st century came, and it just became.
Oh, and now they
entirely
got-
an issue.
1 kilovolt cables,
DC,
DC.
which is an entirely
Carrying
different
an
thing.
awful lot of current.
Oh yeah, and they couldn't do that before because a lot of that depends upon digital electronics that they hadn't developed,
Yeah.
and also
Well, they couldn't make the
superconductors.
cables that big.
Also superconductors.
Yeah.
Okay, should we move on?
Well, we should if I can figure this one out.
Well, it's kind of confusing because you see below the note for Byron and did I read that? Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Below the note, you'll see the words Saturday, and then the August 29th.
So there's
and
another picture coming
Then there's
up.
a picture, which is a
Let's get the picture.
graph. This picture is a graph of on the left the annual shipments of solar modules in the United States, and this is a little bit weird the way they define solar modules. This is solar modules imported plus solar modules exported plus solar modules manufactured in the United States for local consumption.
Kind of confusing.
Well, it is, but if you study it, you discover that
Well, I think the critical thing here is the graph on the right. The price for these things.
Yeah, this is the graph on the right is what happens to the prices, and
They're
now
going down precipitously.
it's below 50 cents where it was, And what we're seeing here is an article from Clean Technica. Right below that on your script there is a title.
U.S. shipments of solar photovoltaic modules increase as prices continue to fall. I got news for you guys. That's going to continue.
It is, yeah.
Continuing.
That's right. Wright's law, standard law of economics that most economists don't know about, I think, says that this is just going to keep on going. In 2019, U.S. shipments of solar PV modules, or solar panels, reached a record high 16.4 million kilowatts, 2.9 kilowatts more than the previous record of 13.5 million kilowatts in 2016. Solar PV module shipments include imports, exports, and the product for U.S. consumption.
We'll put the flat.
And what happened there was it was going up really rapidly, and then Donald Trump became the president, and he decided that we were going to have a trade war against China, which increased the price of solar panels. It effectively increased it. Didn't actually increase the cost of production, but it meant that the installations, the shipments, and so forth fell. Well, now they're recovering.
Kind of looks like it.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like
Well, the market
well.
the market at this point is something that I don't think they can fight.
Well, they can't.
Yeah.
I mean, this is reality.
Yep.
We got another picture coming.
We do.
Here.
This is a picture I'm pretty sure we've seen before, but I
Well,
looked.
if we haven't seen it, we've seen one like it.
We've seen pictures like
Oh,
this.
there it is. I had it up already.
Yeah. And this is from PV Magazine Australia.
And it says, distributed and large-scale renewables improve reliability outlook for Australia's main grid. I didn't know they had a main grid.
They don't. When Australians talk about the main grid,
That's the southwest corner. Isn't it?
basically it's the southwest corner and the east coast.
Yeah.
Everything else, there's no grid. there's smaller grids, but there's not a unified.
If
grid.
you look at the population of Australia and all that,
Yeah.
it's a huge country and there's very few people.
Yeah.
They're
well,
all within 50 miles of the coast,
yeah.
outside of Alice Springs, right in the center of the country.
Do you
There's
know
nothing there?
Do you know anybody who even knows the name of a town or city that isn't along the coast and isn't Alice Springs?
No.
Neither do I. It's like I know where most of the big cities in Australia are,
Well, they're all on the
but
coast.
they're all on the coast.
Well, the middle of part of the country is all desert.
The middle part of the country, well, everything except the coast.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I mean, you got about a 50-mile stretch of
Non-desert.
non-desert.
Yeah. Which all burned down last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say it all burned down.
No, but they had fires.
They had
a
big
lot.
fires.
We talked about that.
All right. The reliability of Australia's power grid has actually improved with the addition of new solar and wind capacity, making summer blackouts less likely, according to the Australian Energy Market Operator in its latest report. Well, this is duplicating things that happened in Germany. Germany had the most reliable power grid in Europe.
Okay.
Their average outage for people was 15 minutes a year.
That's not bad.
No, it's not. In the United States, it's more like 2 hours. They put in huge amounts of renewable electricity, and what happened to reliability? Instead of 15 minutes a year, it was 10 minutes a year.
Okay.
So their reliability improved, and this is something we're going to see more of. Just in time. Renewable energy is more reliable than fossil fuels, and
Absolutely.
it produces a better quality electricity.
Well, the sun doesn't always shine, but you know when it's going to be shining. Like it doesn't shine very well at 11 o'clock at night.
Not where we are, but in other places.
Other parts of the world, it's
Yeah.
not 11 o'clock at night.
But the wind never stops. When you've got a large grid, the wind never stops.
That's correct.
And
It's always blowing
it's
somewhere.
always blowing somewhere. But there's other things too. Solar power has gone to the point where you combine it with batteries. That combination,
Bingo.
cheaper than natural gas.
Already.
It's higher quality because where natural gas would take 5 minutes to adjust to meet a change in the load demand, I find this
It's
mind-boggling.
almost instantaneous.
I don't understand this. I keep reading how fast we can meet the exact level of demand now. And, we're running in a 60 cycle per second system.
Yeah.
It's less than one cycle. Really? How do they do that? I don't know.
The times they are changing.
Yeah.
One of the big things they rarely talk about is these renewables are distributed.
Yes,
They're not all one big hunk in a corner of the country.
there is.
They're all over the place.
They're all over the place, and there's so many different technologies involved. I mean, you've got solar, you've got wind, you've got geothermal, you've got
Hydro.
you've got tidal, you've got wave. If you want,
And some of them are gravity fed.
some of them are gravity fed. And you've got, I don't know, probably a dozen different kinds of batteries. And all of this stuff is combining to a point where solar is cheap. We're going to see an article on solar
So
coming
wait till we get there. We can talk
When
about
we
it
get
again.
there, we can talk about it. Okay, next one.
Got another picture coming up.
This picture,
What is that?
it really makes me upset, this
Well, let's see if
picture.
I can find a picture.
Just,
Looks
that's,
like a furnace.
well, it's a water heater. It's a heat pump.
Heat pump.
Heat
Okay.
pump water heater. But it makes me upset. I mean, look, you're
That's what it said,
looking
heat
through
pump
the
water.
door of a utility room,
Yeah.
and it's clean in there. How in the world do
That's
they?
true.
This can't be.
Yeah, I hear you. You don't think about that.
Okay, Clean Technica.
California takes a big step toward climate change adaptation.
California Public Utilities Commission became the nation's first regulator to require utilities to account better for the impact of climate change on energy infrastructure and services. The PUC ordered them to prioritize it in their planning and operations.
That's interesting.
It's interesting. It's necessary. You know, they've got to have this. They're not going to have it under control until they plan for it.
Well, isn't planning socialism?
You know, here I am. You know, I grew up in a conservative household, and I voted Republican for 40, 50 years. And I sit back, and my friends were so afraid of socialism. And I used to question them on this. What's socialism? It's government owning something that could be done by somebody else.
But it isn't necessarily the government owning it. The workers own the means of production.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's...
The way it's generally been practiced has been the government.
Yeah. But
And you know how efficient governments are.
I mean, you've got employee-owned businesses. That's socialism.
Oh, sure.
But the post office
Co-ops.
is socialism because...
Absolutely.
And so
The highways are socialism.
was Benjamin Franklin a socialist?
I don't think the word had been invented yet.
No, it hadn't been. But one of them answered me, and he said, yes, Benjamin Franklin was a socialist. He didn't know the word. The word hadn't been invented yet, but that's what he was.
Okay.
And
Think
so
about that.
I said, our founding fathers were socialists? And he said, yeah, well, I mean, they didn't think of it in those terms, but yes, they were. And so what's so bad about socialism? Well, it's good. It leads to the Russian Revolution. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, that was 100 years ago, and it was in Russia. It'll happen here. The Russian Revolution will happen here if we allow the socialists and blah, 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 blah. So I just became kind of immune to the idea of worrying about socialism. And in fact, do you really want your park to be run by a private organization?
Well, they're trying to do that now. They're trying to sell off the national parks to private enterprises where they're going to start charging.
How in the world can... There's no such thing as a public asset that isn't socialist. And that, I think, would be a tragedy.
Well, there is a school of thought that basically says if someone's not making money on something, it isn't worth doing.
Yeah, and the school of thought makes money the most valuable thing in creation.
Yeah.
Which means beauty, who cares? You just put it up for auction and it's worth what it's worth.
Yeah, right.
I don't like Van Gogh. A lot of people do, but I don't like Van Gogh. But the paintings that this man produced, which I wouldn't put on my wall,
Okay.
fetch tens of millions of dollars. And there are a lot of paintings that I like better that are a 10,000th or a 100,000th of the price. I'm sorry. I think that the idea of saying that the quality of a painting depends upon how much money it can be sold for is
Well,
not.
that's a kind of a unique market.
Well, look at the other things. Air. Is air a common resource?
Well, they haven't figured out how they can charge us for the use of it yet.
No, but they figured out how to destroy it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, maybe that's the end game.
Maybe it's the end game.
Yeah,
Destroy
if
everything.
you want
And
to
then
breathe,
can
you got to
bottle
buy
it.
your oxygen
Yeah,
from us.
right. Okay, we should get out of this. Next item. We have a new picture. We're up to Sunday, August 30th. And there is the
Let's
picture.
get that picture up.
And that is Hurricane Laura on the 26th.
Is that what that? Oh, yeah, that's a hurricane.
That's a
Definitely.
hurricane taken
As seen from a satellite, huh?
from a satellite. And I was surprised to see that Chris Cassidy was credited with this. Maybe he's an astronaut and he was on the satellite. But, I don't expect to see individuals credited. This is from CNN.
Well, let's see what...
You got a title? Oh, you're still fussing with a photo.
Well, I just put you on.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Let's put
I'm going
us
to get
on.
over here. So I've got a monitor in front of me that shows what's
Climate change didn't cause Hurricane Laura, but it did make the storm worse.
Okay, you remember we were looking at storm surges at Cameron of 15 to 20
This
feet?
is the one we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Laura broke multiple records. The Mermentau River gauge at Grand Chenier in Cameron Parish, Louisiana, the gauge topped out at 17.14 feet. The previous high record was 13 feet in June of 1957. The planet has warmed significantly and the storms are worse. This is...
Why am I not surprised?
But when was the last time you heard of anything where a record, 13 feet in this case, was broken? This went from 13 feet to 17.4. That's like a 25% increase.
Well,
This would be like saying so-and-so John Bannister ran a 4-minute mile, and then somebody broke the record running at 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
yeah.
This is just, this kind of outrageous breaking is just not normal. And where did it happen? It slammed the people who were the heaviest pro-Trump voters in the United States.
Well,
We can make a good conspiracy theory out of that.
Well, reading some of the projections, all of southern Florida is going to be underwater by the turn of the next century.
And I think those projections are far off, and it's going to be much
It's
quicker.
going to be worse.
Yeah.
So instead of half of Florida, it's going to be all of Florida.
No, I don't know that it would be all of Florida, but I think by 2050,
Well, the Barrier Islands is going to be gone.
the barrier islands are going to have to be evacuated.
Oh,
And-
absolutely.
And,
It's happening as we speak.
it is.
People are moving from Palm Beach inland to, what's the name of that?
Little Haiti.
Little Haiti, yeah.
Yeah. People are moving to Little Haiti because it's 7 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
I got news for you. They say if the sea level rises 18 inches, this was actually a couple of years ago. If the sea level rose 18 inches, Miami would be uninhabitable.
Oh, sure.
So, and if you
And
think
Mar-a-Lago will be underwater.
Mar-a-Lago would be uninhabitable, it might not be underwater very often, but it would be uninhabitable.
Uninhabitable.
Okay, we should go on.
Yeah,
This
I got a
next
nice picture
story.
of a bus here.
This next story is one that I think is really interesting.
A good look at that bus. This bus doesn't look weird, does it?
No, it doesn't look at all weird.
But it is weird.
It's a Proterra bus.
We've seen
I'm sorry, it's a BYD bus. And this story is from Clean Technica.
buses make a lot of sense for electrification.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's a BYD electric bus, as you said. And this is an interesting article because it says Panama cancels order for diesel buses, will purchase 195 electric buses instead.
Yeah.
Portent of things to come.
Boy, is it ever. For the past year, my bus, the operator of Panama's Metro bus system, and that is MIBUS. I don't know how it's
That's the
supposed
country of Panama.
Yeah, I don't know how MIBUS is supposed to be pronounced. It could be MIBUS. But it tested 2 electric buses that BYD had supplied it for free. Having done that, MiBus or MyBus decided to cancel an order for 160,000 new diesel buses and purchase electric buses from BYD instead.
Well, it's the economy. I mean, they're
Absolutely.
costing more to buy the bus.
Yeah,
But the maintenance and operation is
Yeah.
almost zero.
yeah, and the amount more that it's costing to buy the bus isn't that great anymore.
That's true, too.
What happened here was, and the reason I'm explaining this because we said 195 buses in the title and 160 in the text. They decided they were going to buy 195 buses. Having done that, they decided that within their goals for carbon emissions, they were going to make 35 of those buses electric.
Okay.
But
So now they're going to be all electric.
they're going to be all electric. They apparently had actually placed an order for 160 buses and then almost immediately canceled it
Yeah.
when they saw the numbers coming in on these 2 buses that had been loaned to them by BYD.
Well, electric buses make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
They make a lot of sense.
And China manufactures 98% of them.
Didn't we just start opening up a plant in the West Coast that makes buses?
BYD plant. It's
Yeah.
a Chinese plant on the
Chinese
West
plant,
Coast,
yeah.
and it will be making BYD electric buses and trucks. But the thing is, in the United States, we're making fewer than 1,000 electric buses a year. In fact, I think it's more like 300. And
China has what?
they're making 100 to 150,000 electric buses a year.
Talk about economies of scale, huh?
It's crazy. We're so out of competition with this thing that the only way we could get into competition would be with China would be if we subsidized the electric bus manufacturers in the United States heavily. And of course, half of the electric buses in the United States are made by Chinese companies.
Yeah.
So, and you know,
I wouldn't be too surprised that there's a little bit of lobbying by the oil companies going on here.
but the thing is, more than half, I have read, of all buses sold worldwide are now electric.
Well, it makes so much sense.
We haven't got our toe in the water
No.
as a country. And why? Because we're worried about saving coal jobs and helping out the gas and oil people. And you know what's happened to the under Donald Trump, the Dow Jones Coal Index declined 90%. And and when he came to office, there were 49,300 coal miners. Now there's 43,400. So that declined 12%.
Yeah.
And almost all coal companies in the United States are in bankruptcy.
Absolutely. We
And
talked
most
about that.
hundreds, more than 200 oil and gas companies are in bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And the oil and gas index, Dow Jones Oil and Gas Index, since Donald Trump took office, has declined by 60%. What is he doing to these? This is Donald Trump's war on fossil fuels. It's called Donald Trump helping out.
Well, it's bigger than he is.
I guess it is. And it wasn't. It's not fair to say it's Donald Trump's war on fossil
It's
fuels.
economics.
But it was not fair to say that it was Barack Obama's war on coal either,
No, it wasn't.
for exactly the same reason.
No, it wasn't. Well, it plays well in Peoria.
Yeah. Well, we have to keep going, Tom.
I think we do. So
We have an
Got a picture-
item here from
another
Mercon,
picture
India.
coming up here. And that is,
That's a
The
big
solar
solar
project.
project.
looks like a fairly large one.
I think it is, yes. It stretches from horizon to horizon.
First Solar offers first of its kind grid balancing services with a 141 megawatt solar project.
This is
Now that's
kind of amazing.
yeah.
First Solar, a U.S.-based solar panel manufacturer, announced that that its 141 Luz del Norte solar PV project in Chile secured a license to supply ancillary grid services on a commercial basis. The company said it is the first solar project to provide such services.
So basically, they're providing software, aren't they?
Yeah. We have to keep going. We've got 9 minutes to do 9 items.
9 minutes to do 9 items.
Yeah.
We're on Monday coming up, so
Yeah.
if I can get this.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We have a picture of the.
Uh,
Yeah, there we go.
something's not.
Jason Cooper was.
Oh,
There you
we
go. See
There
him?
we go. I just lost my mouse.
There you go. There you
There
go.
we go, by Joe.
Jason
I
Cooper
think
was
he's
very
got-
excited by this. He said he wished that he had
Now this one should
for
be
years that he could get something like this. This is from Clean Technica.
What's going on here?
I don't know.
Oh,
Oh. Now I know why you lost your computer,
I
Tom.
lost my mouse here. Lost my.
Should I read the title?
Yeah, I can't scroll the computer.
Don't worry about it. Just keep working on that, and sooner or later. World's first foiling electric boat is the title. And that picture is a picture of a foiling electric boat. Electric boats are starting to bloom. Boat maker Candela says it offers the first electric boats with real range by adding hydrofoils. This speedboat can go quite far, 50 nautical miles at 22 knots, which is the equivalent of 57.54 land miles at 25.3 miles per hour. And it has a maximum speed of 30 knots, which is about 35 miles per hour. You can, I mean, this boat has real range. The thing about these foils, though, is if the water gets a little bit too choppy, it's going to be slamming the hull. And when it slams the hull, it's going to drop your speed and you're going to drop down into the water.
So when this thing is foiling,
Yeah.
it cuts down the water resistance.
It
and
cuts
you can go a lot
down
faster.
enormously, and you can go very
Yeah.
fast. They had PT boats during the Second World War that were equipped with these things.
Is that so?
On a test basis. They decided not to use them because it was the ocean was not usually calm enough to be able to
Okay.
make good on them. And there's
Why won't this thing move?
you want me to take a look at it?
If you can, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to scroll at that, and all of a sudden it stops scrolling.
Use the little wheel on this
Use what?
little wheel.
That's what I've been using.
Yeah, well, it's working now. I think you may have had it may have been expecting something that it wasn't
It's working
getting.
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we have an item from Motley Fool.
Wait a second now. This is.
I'm going to read the title on this, Tom, while you work on that. Okay.
We'll get the picture up. Let's get
Yeah.
the picture up.
The title on this is "Where Will Renewable Energy Be in 5 Years?" And the text that I've got here is leading renewable energy producer Next Era Energy expects that near firm wind and solar power, that is to say a 4-hour battery storage adder, will be cheaper to build than all but the most efficient natural gas power plants within the next 5 years. This will produce a surge of energy investment.
Interesting word there. Near firm.
Near firm.
Near firm.
What, did you put the picture up?
I had the picture up. I'll
Oh,
put
did
it
you?
up again.
Okay. People, that's very colorful.
Well, that's a pretty one.
Yeah.
That's a nice one. That's a saver.
Okay, let's go on. We are.
Get another picture coming
We
up.
have a picture of the Provo solar farm and an item from Clean Technica, which is a world record.
New record low solar price bid. We've talked about this one already.
No, we haven't. This is a new one
even
that's
lower.
even lower. Yeah.
1.3 cents per kilowatt hour.
The previous one was in Dubai or someplace like that. This is in Portugal. Portugal
It
held.
wasn't much higher than that.
No, it was not. Portugal held a solar power auction in which one of the bids broke the world record for the lowest solar power price. The lowest winning bid was to supply solar electricity to the grid at a new record of, I'm not going to read it out in euros. It's 1.327 cents per kilowatt hour. The array will save Portugal 37.2 million euros per year for 15 years.
That's about $40 million.
Yeah, this is approximately 1.33 cents per kilowatt hour, where the previous record was 1.35. So it dropped from 1.35 to 1.33, but it's still
That's
price is
cheap.
dropping.
That's really getting down there. I mean, what is the retail price of electricity in Vermont? It's about 14 cents.
It's more than that. It's more like 20.
I don't think it's
18.
well. I don't know.
I don't
pay it because it's in my.
I don't pay mine either, but the last time I knew it was 18 cents, and I was
18
buying
cents. Huh?
I was buying cow power, but it's gone up since then. I think.
So you're buying cow power, which you pay a premium for.
Yes. Okay, we have to go on, Tom,
Make
and we are
another
up to
picture here.
Tuesday, September 1st. We have a picture of this is the Hornsdale Wind Farm. We've had lots and lots of pictures of the Hornsdale Wind Farm, the Hornsdale Power Reserve batteries. This is from Renew Economy.
Cheaper, cleaner, more renewable, more reliable.
Yep.
How renewables are winning the energy trifecta.
This is a really interesting article. The 3 business lobby groups who cheered most loudly when Australia repealed its carbon price in 2013 have now joined with unions, superfunds, and research groups to urge the same coalition government to aim for zero emissions by target of 2050. So the people who had been against renewable energy are now for it. Why? Because it's cheaper and it's more reliable. This
Strange how that works, isn't
it? The business of the sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow is turning out to be wrong. Now,
Well, let's move along here. We got another picture coming.
we have a picture of the hybrid. This is not hybrid, it's hybrid
Hybrid.
steel plant. Which is
Fossil-free steel. Fossil-free steel.
amazing.
It is. I would have never thought there would have been such a thing.
This is from Renews.
It comes from Vattenfall,
Yep.
and it says Vattenfall fires up fossil fuel-free steel plant.
Vattenfall, SSAB, and LKAB have inaugurated the hybrid pilot plant in Sweden, which aims to step towards fossil-free steel making. Tests will now be carried out in the hybrid plant for several stages for the use of hydrogen in a direct reduction of iron ore with water emitted instead of carbon dioxide. So they're going to avoid using metallurgical coal for making steel by using hydrogen, which is going to be generated from water by using renewable electricity.
So making steel requires a lot of heat,
It sure
and they're
does.
getting the heat now from hydrogen.
Yeah, that, and also they're going to be reducing the ore with hydrogen.
Okay.
So this is a multiple thing. We have a couple more items, and we really
We
should
got
get through.
3 items left, I think.
The first of them is from Clean
Okay,
Technica.
we got
This
a picture
picture
coming
is a
up here.
picture of a national forest in Montana, and they're not. I don't know that they're really worried about oil rigs going up there, but
I've seen that picture before.
have you?
Yeah,
Okay.
national forest in Montana that could be open for drilling.
Yeah, technically could be.
Trump administration pushes oil drilling in the national forests.
The Trump administration took the wraps off a new rule that will make it easier to drill for oil and gas in national forests. This is happening just as communities are suffering from dirty air and the damages of a warming planet, from wildfires, from heat waves to hurricanes and derechos. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
It means right, like right-handed, but I don't know what a derecho
A
is.
derecho is also called a land hurricane.
Is it? Okay.
It is, and we are about to hit another one about the same thing. So let's go on to the next.
Well, just a quick takeaway here. They're talking about this right now in Alaska.
Yes,
There's
absolutely.
a huge area
Absolutely.
that's pristine.
Yes.
That they're talking right now about awarding bids for drilling
Yeah,
as we speak.
I know, and I think it's outrageously incompetent because nobody's going to be able to make any money from it among other things.
Well,
Our
for
next-
one thing, they got to build all the roads to get the oil out of there.
Okay, our next item is from
Renew economy.
Renew Economy. Yes.
BHP signs wind and solar deal to help power Queensland coal mines.
Tell me if this isn't funny.
That's a little bit crazy.
Global mining giant BHP, and this BHP might be the biggest mining company in the world, has signed a
think it is.
five-year contract to use wind and solar to deliver up to half the power needs for its coal mining operations in Queensland. It's the first big renewable energy takeoff agreement signed by BHP in Australia.
There's a note here that you wrote. BHP has canceled a contract for coal-based power in Chile that is going to 100% renewable energy in that country.
This is a comedy act. Okay, let's go
Chile
on.
is where BHP got started
Is it?
mining, I think. I think it
I
is,
thought-
yeah.
Maybe. BHP, I know, is very big in Australia.
I think it's the largest mining company in the world.
It might be, yeah.
But
Okay,
they got their start in Chile, I know that.
we've got a picture,
Got a picture here.
and the picture is a
What's
picture.
going on in that picture?
It's a picture of the author of the article looking at a tree in her neighborhood, which was hit by
lightning.
derecho,
Oh, was that what happened? It
Yeah.
wasn't lightning at all. It was a land hurricane.
land hurricane, and this is from Huffington Post. What do you have for title, Tom?
Okay, it says a derecho is called a land hurricane.
Yeah.
And the title is, What's It Like to Live in a City That's Had 3 once-in-a-lifetime climate disasters in 12 years?
Yeah, in 2008, Cedar Rapids was completely underwater in a flood considered to be one of the worst in the nation's, worst of the country's natural disasters. But a similar flood took place in September of 2016, and last month brought 140 mile-per-hour winds in a Category 4 derecho.
So they're having a 1,000-year storm every year.
Well, not every year, every
Every few
sixth
years.
year, or something
Huh?
like that, every sixth year or something. So we have to say goodbye because we're at
Well,
the
this is
end
the
of our...
last picture anyhow.
Yeah, and we're at the end of our broadcast, and I'm asking everybody to have a perfectly lovely week. And maybe you should put us up, Tom, so we can
I'm
wave
just
goodbye.
trying to figure out what's going on here. There's more on this.
There's always more on the text because I have notes at the end. Goodbye, everybody. Come back next time.
Adios.